Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Next question. The frequency represented by f kilohertz. Kilohertz is the unit for the frequency, for measuring a frequency of a radio wave, is inversely proportional to its wavelength. And the wavelength is represented by lambda, and the unit for measuring the lambda is meter. So in this question they are saying that the frequency of the radio wave is inversely proportional to its wavelength. So the frequency of the radio wavelength is inversely proportional to the wavelength, and the wavelength is represented by the lambda. So we have already studied the relation between the two variables inversely proportional, and when the two variables are inversely proportional they are written as the proportionality sign and inverse of other variable. So f is inversely proportional to lambda, so f is proportional to 1 upon lambda. This relation is for inversely. So now converting the proportionality sign into equality by multiplying with a constant k. So f is equals to k upon lambda. Proportionality sign is converted into equality by multiplying with k, means that 1 upon lambda is multiplied by k, so it will be k upon lambda. Here k is the constant. So the frequency of the radio wave that has a wavelength of 300 meter is 100 kilohertz. The frequency of the radio wave that has a the value of the wavelength, the given value of the wavelength is 3000 meter, when the frequency is 100 kilohertz. The unit of the frequency is kilohertz and the unit for the wavelength is meter. So by putting the values and getting the value of the k, frequency is 100 kilohertz. 100 kilohertz is equals to k upon frequency wavelength, and the wavelength is 3000. So the value of k will be 3000 multiplied by 100. 3000 multiplied by 100, it will be 300,000. The value of k will be 300,000. So the equation will be f is equals to k, and the value of k is 300,000 upon lambda, and the value of lambda is lambda. So this is the equation connecting f and lambda. Now in the first part they are saying that the frequency of the radio wave that has a wavelength of, find the frequency of the radio wave that has a wavelength of 500 meter. We have to find the frequency of the radio wave which has a wavelength of 500 meters. So using the equation is f is equals to 300,000 upon lambda. We have to find frequency, so it is 300,000 divided by 500. So 300,000 divided by 500 will be 600. So frequency will be 600 kilohertz when the wavelength is 500 meter. In the second part they are saying that the wavelength of the radio wave, we have to find the wavelength of the radio wave. That has a frequency of 800 kilohertz. So using the equation f is equals to 300,000 upon lambda. So frequency is 800 kilohertz, 300,000 upon lambda. So lambda will be 300,000 divided by 800. So 300,000 divided by 800. So the value of lambda will be 375. So we have two parts and we have done with the two parts. In the first part we have given lambda 500, we have to find frequency, so the frequency will be 600 kilohertz. In the second part we have to find the wavelength, and the frequency given is 800 kilohertz, so wavelength will be 375 meters. So this is a question. Inshallah in the next video we will start the next question. Assalamu alaikum.